Have you ever walked away from a conversation just wishing you'd made a better impression? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into Leil Lowndes' classic, How to Talk to Anyone. We're going to break down some of its most powerful techniques to help you connect with absolutely anyone, anywhere.
Look, we all know communication is the key, right? But let's be honest, it can be really tough. Making that great first impression, keeping a conversation from dying, or just feeling confident walking into a room full of new people. It doesn't always come naturally. And that's exactly what this book is all about. It gives you a whole toolbox of simple, actionable techniques to completely master those moments.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with those make or break first few seconds. Then we'll get into how to build instant rapport. After that, we'll sharpen how we actually speak to make a real impact. And finally, we'll pull it all together so you can thrive in any social setting. Just think of it as your step-by-step guide to becoming a master communicator.
All right, first up, the first few seconds. You've heard it a million times. First impressions are everything. And it's so true. They're formed almost instantly. But here's the good news. Tiny strategic adjustments to what you're doing without even speaking can completely change how people see you. Okay, this first technique is called the flooding smile. So, instead of flashing that quick, reflexive grin the moment you see someone, I want you to try this. Pause for just a beat, really look at their face, and then let a slow, warm smile spread across yours. That tiny delay, that's what makes it so powerful. It's the difference between a polite reflex and a truly warm welcome that feels genuine and meant just for them. Next, we've got sticky eyes. Now, this is not about staring someone down, so don't worry. It's just about holding eye contact for a fraction of a second longer than you normally would before you look away. It's such a small act, but believe me, it is incredibly powerful. It communicates this immense interest and respect, and it makes the other person feel truly seen and heard.
Okay, now let's talk about a really powerful body language move called the big baby pivot. When you're introduced to someone, fight that urge to just turn your head. Instead, pivot your entire body to face them. I'm talking from your toes to your nose. It's a simple, subconscious signal that just screams, you have my complete, undivided attention.
So here's a technique for making someone feel really special, especially in a group conversation. It's called epoxy eyes. So imagine you're talking to one person. When someone else jumps in, you listen to them, of course, but you keep your eyes locked on your original conversation partner. It's a subtle move, but it makes them feel like the absolute center of your universe.
All right, so you've totally nailed that first impression. Now what? Let's move into our next section, building instant connections. This is where we go beyond the surface and start creating real rapport. You know, that feeling of comfort that turns a stranger into a genuine connection.
A classic technique here is mirroring. And it's based on this psychological fact. We're just drawn to people who are like us. So by subtly reflecting someone's body language, maybe their posture, or even their speech tempo, you create this instant, subconscious sense of familiarity and trust. Now, the key word here is subtle. You're aiming for a reflection, not a full-on impersonation, okay? And just like you can mirror body language, you can also mirror someone's energy. This is called the mood match. Before you even say a word, just get a read on their vibe. Are they super high energy and excited, or are they more calm and thoughtful? Matching their tone and volume creates this instant sense of harmony. It just shows that you're on their wavelength.
Oh, I love this next one. It's called Never the Naked Introduction. The idea is so simple. Never introduce someone with just their name. So instead of a flat, "This is Sarah," you could try something like, "This is Sarah. She just got back from an amazing trip to Italy." See? Instantly, you've given them this perfect launch pad for a real conversation.
And if you ever feel a conversation starting to stall, just use parroting. It's almost ridiculously simple. You just repeat the last 2 or 3 words the person said, but you say it in a questioning tone. So if they say, "I had a really busy weekend," you just reply, "A really busy weekend?" It prompts them to elaborate without you having to do any heavy lifting. It's genius.
So now that we've established a connection, let's talk about the words themselves. This is our third section, speaking with impact. Because the language we use doesn't just pass along information, it actually shapes how people see us and our ideas.
First thing, let's focus on using unique vocabulary. So when someone asks, "How are you?" I want you to ditch the boring, fine things. Try something more descriptive, something intriguing, like, "I'm feeling absolutely phenomenal today." An unexpected answer like that makes you so much more memorable because it breaks the conversational script we're all programmed with. It shows a little personality and it sparks a real conversation.
Next up, you're going to become a word detective. You have to listen carefully to the specific words people use.
If they happen to mention they're passionate about, say, sustainability, that is your cue. Ask them about it. When you steer the conversation towards their favorite topics, you make them feel fascinating, and by extension, that makes you a fascinating person to talk to.
We all like getting compliments, right? But the best ones are the ones that really stick with us. That's the power of praise. A generic "good job" is fine, but it's totally forgettable. To make it impactful, you have to get specific. So instead of "I liked your presentation," try something like "the way you used that data to build your argument was absolutely brilliant." Specific praise proves you were actually paying attention, and that makes it feel so much more sincere. Here's a fantastic way to show someone you're truly listening. It's called echoing key phrases. When they make an important point, just weave their key words back into your response. It's this really subtle signal that you didn't just hear them, you actually understood and valued what they had to say.
Okay, so we've covered first impressions, we've built some rapport, and we're speaking with impact. Now let's bring it all together in our final section, thriving in any circle. These are the strategies you can use to walk into any room, a new job, a party, you name it, and connect with total confidence.
First, you need to act like an insider. Before you just jump into a new group, take a second to observe. What kind of language are they using? What's their general vibe? By adopting some of their jargon or mirroring their collective body language, you non-verbally signal that you belong, and that makes integrating so much smoother.
This next technique is so powerful. It's called direct dial their hearts. You have to remember that people connect through emotion, not just logic. So when you're communicating, don't just lay out the cold, hard facts. Frame your message with warmth and try to connect it to something that really matters to them on a personal level.
You know, let's just pause on that for a second. People connect more deeply when conversations touch emotions rather than facts. This is honestly one of the most crucial points to remember from all of this. Connection is, at its very core, an emotional process. And please, don't forget that confidence is physical. A great little trick for this is called hang by your teeth. It's a visualization technique. Just imagine you're biting down on a leather strap that's hanging from the ceiling. It forces you to pull your head up, straighten your spine, and instantly improve your posture. Your body language will just scream confidence before you even say a single word.
And finally, there's the sneaky compliment. So instead of complimenting someone right to their face, tell a mutual friend something wonderful about them. When that compliment eventually gets back to the person, and trust me, it often does, it feels incredibly sincere and carries like 10 times the weight of direct praise, all because it was said when they weren't even around to hear it. So everything we've covered today, these are just a few of the amazing tools from How to Talk to Anyone. But the real magic isn't in knowing all of them, it's in picking just one and actually trying it out. Mastering communication is a skill, and it's built on small, consistent actions. It's about turning these little tricks into your natural habits. So looking back at everything we've just talked about, what is the one small change you're going to make in your very next conversation?